And welcome to all of you. And thanks for taking your time to tuning in and listening to, I would say, the next 45 minutes about our Cloud Protection for Salesforce product. My name is Mange. I'm the country manager of Denmark, and I will shortly hand over the word to my colleague Alex. Before I do that, I would like to say, prior to this webinar, I would like to thank all of you that I've been talking to personally, and on behalf of my team, it's been a pleasure to talk with all of you about your day-to-day work with your Salesforce org, how you use it internally, and how you believe that a product like ours potentially could add on the value securing your Salesforce environment with the data that you expose in there. So I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to the session, and I will pick up questions on the fly, so don't hesitate to type into the chat whatever question you might have, and I'm pretty sure that Alex or Anthony ad hoc or by the end of the session will pick up on those ones. I will make sure that they will receive them, so don't be shy. We would like to have all the questions that you might have. I think that's it. So Alex, are you with me and ready to take over?
I am indeed. So Morten, thank you very much for that introduction, and a pleasure to be presenting to you all today. So my name is Alex, and I'm the Global Sales Director for Cloud Protection for Salesforce here at F-Secure. I actually joined F-Secure in late November last year to really help drive awareness of the Cloud Protection for Salesforce product. And prior to joining F-Secure, I actually worked at Salesforce with a number of partners across EMEA and the US, and I was very much involved in a lot of service transformation and field service delivery. So I bring with me a good level of knowledge of the Salesforce ecosystem. Today, during the session, Anthony will also be supporting us and actually delivering a demo at the end to give you an idea of actually our product in action. And he's our sales engineer from the UK, so we're really happy to have Anthony with us today. In terms of the agenda, before we start to really talk about security and why you need to secure your Salesforce environment and why this is relevant, I want to actually take a step back for a moment and talk about business transformation and how Salesforce is fueling that, and how that actually in turn is changing the threat landscape in terms of cyber actors looking at Salesforce as a viable vector to try to breach an organization's IT infrastructure. And what that actually means in terms of the shared responsibility between businesses and organizations and cloud providers such as Salesforce when it comes to maintaining that unified front in terms of actually securing the way in which that cloud solution is delivered, both within your organization and how that then helps you actually manage the relationships with your respective customers and partners. Then we'll talk about how cloud protection helps enable that shared responsibility model, and Anthony will then run a demo, which will then nicely bring us to a Q&A session. So that's what we've got planned for you today. So before we start, for those of you who may know us or may not know us, we're a cybersecurity Finnish-based organization with more than 30 years of domain expertise in the field. And our organization spans 3 different business units. So we've got everything in our consumer side, where we work with telco operators and we support consumers with their cybersecurity needs. We then have the business security division, which is where we sit and talking to you today. And then we have a consulting practice that goes out there and works with our customers to really understand how best to maintain their security posture. We're also incredibly proud to say that we've actually won the A/B Test Awards 7 out of the last 9 times, and recently we're recognized as having industry-leading advanced threat detection capabilities by the likes of MITRE, in addition to being PCI compliant and also recently winning the Gartner Peer Insights Award in 2020. So the key thing here is that we've got a huge amount of experience in the cybersecurity space, and the fact that we look at the threat landscape all the way from consumer all the way up to SME to enterprise customers gives us an amazing vantage point to be able to offer the product that we have in terms of the Cloud Protection for Salesforce solution that we'll come on to in a moment. So let's take a step back for a second and think about why we're here, why are we on this webinar, and why we're talking about security in Salesforce. So having worked at Salesforce myself in the past, the term Customer 360 gets used a lot. For those of you who would have attended any sort of events or webinars, may be familiar with this terminology and may be familiar with this imagery on your screen. But really what this tells us and shows us is that in the 20+ years that Salesforce has been around, they've really driven around the innovation front via acquisitions and this huge drive and vision to create this single digital platform that really helps enable companies and organizations to fundamentally transform their businesses by bringing together marketing, sales, commerce activity, service, and the IT teams that underpin all that to really develop and build this shared customer view within your organizations. And it really encompasses the full breadth of applications that Salesforce have developed. So if we think about it and we go back to 1999, and Mark Benioff left Oracle because he had a strong passion that actually cloud computing and SaaS is going to take off. We all probably remember Salesforce as a CRM provider looking at just sales management and managing those leads. And it's interesting when I speak to people both in my personal life and professional capacity that a lot of people think of Salesforce as just your generic CRM system that just manages sales, but that's not the case. And for those of you on this call using it, you're probably aware of that. So moving clockwise, Salesforce obviously helps the sales engagement. It then looks at Service Cloud around the service engagement with the customers, how to market to customers, whether it's acquisition of new customers or existing customers, how to transact with them, how to analyze all that information that you hold to anticipate your customers' needs, and so forth. So Salesforce has really invested heavily in being a market leader to have this digital platform that really delivers business transformation. And if we start to think about, especially the world we live in now, coming through the pandemic, through COVID, and the fact that companies have had to repivot the way in which they engage and communicate with their partners and their customers, bearing in mind that actually a lot more transactions in terms of customer requests have gone online, businesses have had to actually really contend with this and do it in such a way that's thoughtful and in a way that customers actually want to engage the organizations. And also a lot of companies now realize that they need to heavily invest in the way in which they actually remotely engage their customers, whether it's handling a call with regards to an issue with a product or a service or making a claim, whatever the industry may be in. Service Cloud and Experience Cloud within the Salesforce offering is now playing a really big role in the exchange of information whether it's through a call center, through the phone, through email, through text, through social media. It's about bringing all those channels together. Now, in my past experience of being involved in some big transformation projects, there have been some really interesting frameworks and models, and one that I always like to use is a framework called SAMR. So what that stands for is actually understanding and measuring the impact of transformation that a solution or a piece of technology brings to your organization. And if we think about the way in which we want to and we are communicating with our partners and our customers today, we can say that a lot of organizations are at various different points in this journey. And actually, if we take a look at the baseline, substitution, so a really easy way of describing that is customers in the past, or even today with certain organizations, will pick up the phone and call you and have a conversation with one of your staff members, someone in your contact center, someone in your service team. And it's easy to say that you can just merely substitute that and say, actually, let's give them an email address to email us. And that's a good way from a business perspective of deflecting and helping passively manage those customers. But actually, it's not really changing much. It's maybe a slight enhancement. But then you can start to look at, well, how can we augment this? How can we take that communication with our partners and our customers and actually, instead of just substituting, actually add some intelligence to that and actually start to really go on that enhancement. So maybe you could create a portal on your website that a customer could go to. They could look at maybe some FAQs, and then if needed, they could submit a request via your website. So you're starting to take that load off your call centers and your teams, but also give your customers other options when it comes to engaging your organization. But then actually, when we take a look at the Salesforce ecosystem, we can actually do a hell of a lot more than that. We can really jump from modification and completely redefine that whole engagement. So let's use an example in the finance or the insurance sector. So let's say an insurance company wants to enable their partners or their customers to better engage them when it comes to making a claim. So why doesn't the organization say, well, okay, practically every man and woman out there has a computer in their pocket, whether it's an Android or an iOS device, they have a powerful piece of kit in their pocket. Let's create an application that collects the information, it timestamps it, enables to upload photos and any other supporting information that can straight away be converted to a case. It can be delivered to your service cloud, auto-assigned to an agent. Artificial intelligence could be used to maybe automatically respond to some of the requests to give customers that best-in-class experience, to actually change the way and completely redefine and transform the way that you as an organization engage your customers. So this is just one of many different frameworks, but the reality is that in this day and age, customers and partners will want to engage in various different ways, and Salesforce, through the Customer 360, through the digital platform, are empowering companies to do this. And what does this mean? So from a threat landscape perspective now, the vectors that a threat actor can take have changed. So if we go back 5, 10, 15, 20 years, and when I look at my own career and look at security had this well-defined perimeter, this perimeter which is your business. You had on-premise application servers and data servers. You had application security, VPN, endpoint, all nicely layered. And you could say, right, we can measure our security posture. There is this perimeter around our business, and we need to protect ourselves from threat actors. But the reality is that, and this is nothing new and groundbreaking, and nothing that I've personally authored, but actually that threat landscape has changed dramatically now that we're using SaaS services and cloud services. And with the prevalence of Salesforce, that perimeter now is borderless. So what threat actors are doing and what security researchers are seeing is that these actors, these threat actors, are utilizing Salesforce amongst other cloud solutions, but actually an increase in Salesforce to act as a stepping stone to breach your IT's infrastructure, security infrastructure. So I'm going to stop here for a moment and just reiterate something. Also being an ex-Salesforce employee myself and bringing the knowledge that I have to F-Secure is that I'm using a lot of incendiary terms here, and you could arguably say, troubling terms: threat actors, breaching, security perimeter. The key thing here is to state is that Salesforce itself is not at risk or flawed in any way, shape, or form, but the way in which that you want to use Salesforce when it comes to business transformation merely opens up opportunities for threat actors to use it as a stepping stone to get malware and ransomware into your organization, whether it's a phishing attack, deploy a zero-day exploit, whether it's via an attachment or a URL. So the key thing here is that there is this shared responsibility between the provider of the solution and your organization who is utilizing the digital platform, the Customer 360 that Salesforce has developed for you to better serve your customers, to make your processes more efficient, to arguably break into new markets and grow your business using Salesforce as that backbone. Now, the key thing is that the Customer 360 and the Salesforce ecosystem is quite vast, and their acquisition spree and development is unparalleled. They are constantly developing and opening up new opportunities with the way in which you can use the ecosystem. But the key point is that when we take a look at engaging your partners and your customers and allowing content to be stored within your orgs for you to be able to better serve your customers, there's some key areas of consideration. So if I draw your attention to the left of the screen, we've got solutions that we're all familiar with, whether it's Sales Cloud, Service Clouds, Experience Cloud. You may have API integrations within your environment that permits content attachments and URLs to enter. And you may even have third-party ISV solutions or even other Salesforce App Exchange solutions that could be permitting content, attachments, URLs, general information from partners and customers to actually traverse its way into your org and be accessible by your staff within your organization. And if I draw your attention to the right of the screen, in no particular order, are top 10 ways in which you can actually augment your business to better communicate with your partners and your customers. Whether it's number 2, web to case, number 3, email to case, examples being the fact that you can actually build and integrate your website to automatically capture requests from your customers or utilize email. It could be things like live chat. It could even be web to lead, where you're capturing opportunities and directly feeding it into Sales Cloud. Or it could be an API integration to another solution that's collecting information. Every business is unique and different, but there are all these different ways that you can deliver that transformation, whether it's you're just enhancing or fundamentally redefining the way in which you engage your customers and your partners. And over the last 3, 4, 5 years, this has become more of a topic as Salesforce has really pivoted heavily into service, into field service management, into actually delivering capabilities for businesses to better engage their customers, their partners, and their end users. So if we visualize this, and again, moving from left to right, you could be enabling your customers or your industry partners to actually engage your organization, whether it's via Community Cloud, Service Cloud, or an integration or an application that you're using. And they could be sending you content and unwittingly sending you something malicious without even realizing. And the reality is that you have no idea if your customers and partners take security as seriously as you do, and if they're breached as they send you content. In addition to that, you could have a malicious actor who's just masquerading as one of your customers and partners, going through that flow, sending you content that is perfectly safe, but actually embedding something that's malicious by nature that could end up in your case queue as you move right and arguably land on one of your customer service agents' machines. And the key thing here is that if an attacker really wants to put their mind to it and carefully craft a zero-day threat or something incredibly advanced, the only defense you've got is your customer agent or your staff member who's not a security specialist. His or her role is to better serve your partners and your customers and to get things moving, arguably. And the other thing is that as someone gets malicious content within your org, you have no way of knowing who else can touch that content. It just sits within your org, idle. One person might access it, another person, another department might access it, and until it's picked up, you have no idea it's there. And then conversely, we see organizations using Salesforce solutions, again, like Experience Cloud and Communities, to create self-serving communities where customers and partners can go and publish content and information and actually create an area which can be like a wiki, like a go and self-serve, go and find information, where customers and partners can upload content and attachments, and you as an organization could accidentally insert something to that community that could be malicious of nature. So the key thing is that any business using Salesforce, using these solutions, want to push the boundaries and actually deliver best-in-class service to their customers and partners. But we need to be thoughtful about someone accidentally uploading something malicious or someone intentionally premeditated actually looking to attack your IT infrastructure using Salesforce as that stepping stone. And then this is where this whole principle of shared responsibility comes. So to the left, we think about the provider, in this case, Salesforce, whose main role is to make sure that they run the servers, they've got the virtualization, they're running the software, they have disaster recovery, they make sure they've got network uptime, load balancing. They've taken all that hassle away from you as a customer to provide you a service so that you as a business can focus on your day-to-day tasks and activities to actually go and serve your customer base. And then conversely, your organization has a responsibility to ensure the content, the accountability, who can access, all that information that's going into your org is safe. And that's where we come in. So the key point here, and I will just reiterate again, is that we're not in the business to say that Salesforce is somehow flawed and unsafe, but that we actually add security to Salesforce and help reinforce that shared responsibility model. Also, although antivirus is a cornerstone of our solution, we're a lot more than that, and we'll explain why, based on the way we've integrated our product into the ecosystem. And finally, we were created in incredibly close collaboration with Salesforce. And the story is that actually we as F-Secure, as an organization, approximately 4.5 years ago, adopted Service Cloud, Community Cloud, which has been rebranded to Experience Cloud recently, Sales Cloud, and Marketing Cloud within our own organization. And being a cybersecurity company, we wanted to ensure that our instance of Salesforce would not be utilized as a stepping stone. So through this integration and engagement with Salesforce, Salesforce actually made available to us various APIs and integrations for us to develop our solution, which has meant that we were able to create something that's very much embedded into the Salesforce ecosystem, which means that you can actually deploy our solution incredibly fast using cloud-to-cloud architecture. So there's no implementation, no middleware, no proxies required. It deploys straight into your org. And again, it's incredibly quick. Basically, download it from the App Exchange. You can have it up and running in your sandbox environment and move it into live. And we've actually had some instances where customers have gone live immediately with it. So in terms of an overview, basically what we do, if we start at the bottom left-hand corner, is that any content, whether it's files, imagery, URLs, emails, destined for your org, is intercepted within your Salesforce environment and interrogated to ensure that there's nothing malicious by nature in there. We also offer extensive additional analysis, layered analysis for anything that's very unique or maybe unusual in nature, but not seen in the threat landscape. So anything that could be brand new to the threat landscape, a zero-day threat, something that cannot be picked up by traditional antivirus or endpoint solutions. At that point, if we see everything is fine, we let it go through and no one knows what's happening in the background, it doesn't affect the customer experience, it doesn't affect the business performance. But in the event that something is detected, again, directly within the Salesforce environment, the individual and staff member will be notified that something's been detected. So he or she will know why they can't get access to content, we're not affecting that relationship with the partner or the customer. And then immediately the admins get a notification and response to say something has been blocked. And this is where we say that we're more than just an antivirus solution. Because we're embedded directly within the Salesforce environment, which is something none of our competitors can do, means that actually from an analytics, reporting, and administration perspective, everything is localized directly within the admin console of the Salesforce instance that you're running. It's familiar and easy to use. And again, we're the only vendor out there that can do this. Now, some of you may be thinking, well, surely Salesforce does this already. Why aren't they doing this? And it's a really good question. So even I myself, prior to joining F-Secure, was under this naive understanding that Salesforce does it. And also the number of customers I've come across who think that Salesforce checks all the content is staggering. And again, this is an education piece and why I talked about business transformation earlier and why actually in recent times, the way Salesforce has pivoted and the reason companies have looked at engagement with their customers has made this more relevant. But the key point is that at Salesforce, one of their top priorities is privacy. And actually, if you think about the founding of Salesforce, the whole premise back then, back in 1999 in the early 2000s, of storing your information on a cloud server was quite an alien thought. So privacy was very important. And in that case, Salesforce will not look at your content or interrogate it because that belongs to you, and hence that shared responsibility. So again, we come back to the shared responsibility view, whereby Salesforce plays this role in terms of actually making sure the infrastructure, the network, and the application itself is hosted and secured, and there is a security posture in place to manage that. Salesforce also offers something called Shield, which is a security solution that merely looks at the encryption, monitoring, and auditing of how sensitive information and contents and attachments are treated within the org, but they will not check the integrity of the content, attachments, and URLs in the event that something malicious resides there. And that's where we, to the right, bolt straight in to the Salesforce ecosystem to add that additional layer of protection when it comes to things like content checking, multi-level engine antivirus, smart cloud sandboxing, and so forth, and reporting. So we completely complement that and help maintain your shared responsibility. And with that in mind, if you go to the Trailblazer community and actually look at this topic, we are recommended there. And again, this very much goes back to our shared and our close collaboration 4.5 years ago when we developed this in close collaboration with Salesforce. Now, to give you some context and to draw this session to a close before I hand over to Anthony for the demo, what I want to do is just share some numbers with you. So again, we are recognized by industry bodies like AV Test Award, MITRE, and so forth as having a leading solution when it comes to the general security piece. But if I draw your attention to the stats that I have in front of you, to date, we protect in the region of just over 1,100, nearly 1,200 orgs globally. And what's really interesting is that we've picked up and stopped nearly 300 harmful files from entering those orgs. But what's really interesting is that nearly 25,000 harmful URLs were blocked from entering those orgs. Now, some customers might have multiple orgs, some customers might have a single org, but that's roughly 21 attempted breaches per org if you just do a simple calculation. And we did that by delivering in excess of nearly 45 million separate checks live in the background to protect our customers, to actually stop these threat actors and these vectors from being successful. And that's amongst some big customers, whether it's the likes of Dell, American Express, Barclays Bank, Johnson & Johnson, VW, and so forth, and in all sorts of different industries. But we've got a tested and a strong track record in protecting the Salesforce ecosystem whilst helping you as an organization deliver that transformation in partnership with Salesforce. And what's important is that our solution is a horizontal solution. We basically play a role in supporting your transformation and supporting the way you engage your partners and customers across all sorts of different industries where Experience Cloud is used, Service Cloud is used, Salesforce Sales Cloud is used, and various other integrations. It just so happens that financial services is one of our biggest verticals, followed by public sector, but we serve all industries. So it's something worth considering that organizations within the finance sector have this heightened level of security and they trust us with the security. And again, we're able to deliver this in manufacturing, recruitment, auto, pharma, and so forth. So we are a horizontal solution that can support all industries. And finally, before we hand over to Anthony, if you want any more information, and we would highly encourage you to download a 30-day trial from our App Exchange, we would very much welcome you visit our App Exchange listing and take a look at it. And if you'd like to contact us, you can contact us from there. And also we'll be following up with material after this session. So with that in mind, I'm going to hand over to Anthony to deliver the demo. Anthony, over to you.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that, Alex. Just bring up my screen here in a minute. So Alex, if you can help me confirm, you can see my Salesforce dashboard.
I certainly can, thank you.
Fantastic. So welcome to this session, ladies and gents. There are a couple of key takeaways that I want you guys to have from my demo session here. F-Secure, we're absolutely focused on making life easier for our users. So I will show you the ease of configurations, ease of installation, ease of use, etc. But also, I would like you to remember that we're actually quite capable of protecting documents within Salesforce from an upload and download perspective, so we can protect your internal users, but also we protect files coming in from the community if you have the community component integrated. Then I'll wrap it up with some of our very good investigation capabilities and also some great reports. So when Alex finished up, he talked about going to App Exchange where you can download the solution. So it's really easy to get started up and running. So as you can see on my screen here, all you need to do is to go to App Exchange. So within the marketplace, I can do a search on F-Secure. Whoops. Dear, I can't spell F-Secure. So that comes up, select that. So what you get are nice data about the solution, some key files, installation files, admin, testing guide, and you just click on get it now if you're authorized. So clicking on that button, it will run you through the installation process. Within 5 minutes, you could be up and running, and it will install it within your selected org, and that's really it. So once you've done the installation, what you get will be access to the F-Secure Cloud Protection. So this is where you do your configs and the administration of the solution. So let's go there for a minute. So within the F-Secure Cloud Protection admin tool, again, simplicity is key here. So you have the summary tab, analytics, and the admin. Within the admin, in terms of configuring the solution, so what you see here clearly is that there are no lengthy configurations for you to worry about. It's just a few buttons to determine whether you want to scan files on upload, scan files on download, and then perhaps you want to do content-focused scanning as well. So that is there for you. And you have the URL protection. Once again, very easy to scan URL based on reputation, as well as scanning or doing category-based scanning if you don't want certain topics on URLs. Okay. The rest of the options are based on operational components, licensing, as well as support. Okay. So the first stop here is I wanted to show you how you probably use Salesforce today without the type of protection that F-Secure can offer. So typically, if you're looking at, let's just say from an internal user perspective, it is quite possible that people can post intentionally or unintentionally malicious sites. So here, if I share that, you can see it goes through. I can click on it. Likewise, if we're looking at perhaps sites that you don't want users to have access to from maybe a corporate device, for instance, that can go through as well. There's no deterrent. And also, if we're trying to, again, I would say unintentionally uploading data into Salesforce, you could upload a malicious file as well. So if I click on share, you can see that went through very easily. Now let's change all that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set scanning harmful files on upload. Let's turn that on. And then I'll go to URL protection, check repetition of URLs. And then I want to make sure that I block access to gambling sites. Okay, so that's a block, put that to a block. Click on save. That will hopefully instantaneously update that policy. So again, from an internal user perspective, let us start with the URLs. Potentially malicious URL. Paste that, share. So what you see is a rewrite of that URL so the user cannot click on it. So if I was to click on it, it will take me to a block page. All right, so that's secure your environment right there. And also, if you're thinking about category-based URL scanning as well, you can block based on whatever category is of your choosing. Again, here you can see it's been rewritten. User cannot click on that file. Now let's look at what happens with potentially malicious files. So again, a safe file, if it's safe, because scanning is turned on, we scan everything. So if that file is safe, if I click on share, you can see that went through. Pick another file, potentially malicious, upload that. Scanning occurs before you save that file. So if I try to share that, you can see it blocked me from uploading that file. Now, on top of that, once you've installed the solution, the benefit as well is that you get instantaneous protection from historical content. So whatever users have uploaded in the past, instantly you get protection from downloads. So this was something that we uploaded earlier. So if I try to download that, you can see it doesn't allow me to. So instant protection from that regard. And naturally, over time, because we do have schedule scan as well, so you can do things like scan different Salesforce locations for malicious content. You can let that run over the weekend or anytime really to clean up historical content. Okay, so that's Salesforce without protection and Salesforce with protection. The other part that I wanted to show you is how we can protect you from community users. So these are people outside your organization. You do want to make sure that when they upload those files, perhaps to support, that you have some protection and scanning capabilities there as well. So this is an example of an email to case. So we're just going to, so let's imagine I want to communicate with support. I'm having troubles with whatever, so I'm sending in some logs for in the usual malicious content. So I'm going to submit that. Now let's go back to the admin portal. So if a file has been sent to my case, so I'm going to go to my case to view that. There you go, send in logs. So from a support perspective, I click on that. I want to troubleshoot. And here you can see clearly the content has been removed. Again, once again, I've been protected. So that is really it. Ensuring that content, files, attachments, we protect against malicious content, protect against malicious URLs as well. Now, from an investigation perspective, naturally you want to have some form of visibility into what is happening or what just happened. So let us go to the analytics view. So with the analytics view, what you're seeing here is everything that has been triggered, being that we scan a file on upload, download, URLs have been scanned as well. Everything has been logged. So here you've got access to those logs divided into file events, URL events. With the file events, so here you can see clearly that there could be quite a lot of content over time. So here you're allowed to query based on whatever metadata, if you will, that is relevant to you. So in this case, I can see Anthony is being fairly active, so I can focus on the user Anthony. Click on search, and there you can see that focus. And also you can extend that to things like user is Anthony. You can also add that or append that with action. So what is Anthony doing on, shall we say, perhaps uploads? What is he doing on downloads, and what are the actions? So you can build quite a lengthy query here depending on what you're looking for. Exactly the same thing for the URLs. You can query based on any of the columns that you see on top here. Okay. Now, when it comes to overall report of the solution, the summary gives you a very good view. So I know clearly at all times, and these are all real-time data, how many files have been scanned and protected on upload, download, URLs protected, etc., etc. So I can literally click on that. So if I click on that, it takes me to a pre-canned report that we build based on Salesforce reports. Now, as we might all know, Salesforce, they do have very powerful reporting capabilities and dashboards, so we utilize that because when we build the solution, the Salesforce reporting component has access to all the customized or custom objects where we save all the events. So here you can see, well, really all the events really. So files, threats protected, files threats protected by user, etc., etc. And you have exactly the same when it comes to URLs as well. Okay, URLs posted. So that being a pre-canned report, naturally you can customize this to display whatever data that is relevant to yourself. Okay, so that is it in a nutshell. Naturally, myself, Alex, I'll be more than happy to take anybody through a more deep dive session should it be required. So I'll hand it over back to you, Morten, for any questions.
Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate the demo, and also thanks to you, Alex, for giving the walkthrough. So I have a couple of questions in the chat, but I also do want to give anyone in the audience a chance to unmute and ask out loud a question. So if there's anyone with the courage, please feel free. Otherwise, and maybe in the meantime, let me take one from the chat. So Anthony, Alex, please jump in here. Does your solution deploy into the customer's org or sit outside?
Anthony, would you like me to take that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a commonly asked question. So just to be incredibly clear, our solution is not a CASB solution, so a cloud access security broker. So therefore, the content, attachment to URLs, all that information that is yours and that is destined for your org actually goes straight into your org where it's checked inside of your org. So we deploy the package internally. We do have a component that sits externally, that's integrated into the environment, that can carry out additional checks. But everything on the first instance takes place internally within your org. And this is a real common requirement in a lot of industries that that data residency remains within the org itself. Anthony, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything or if that's sufficient.
Yeah, that's pretty sufficient. But I'll just add to that because we've built it into your Salesforce org, what that means is we can also extend protection against malicious content coming from the outside world, for example, community. So that might be an area that CASB players might struggle to also protect uploads or protecting the community space.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anthony.
Okay, thanks, guys. I have one more question. So do you only scan when files are uploaded by customers?
Again, that's again a very common question. So when contents, attachments, whatever that could be, a host, let's use that term, that's destined for your org is naturally checked when it enters your org. But the key thing here is that we offer something called download scanning as well, and that's relevant to the internal stakeholders and teams utilizing and accessing the Salesforce instance within your organization. So the answer is yes, and why that's important is that if you've got a carefully crafted, let's just call it in its broadest possible term, attack, that has not been registered or picked up in the wild, in the threat landscape, it could be designed to come into your Salesforce org, be engaged by a staff member, and it could be intentionally designed to remain dormant, let's say for a period of 2 weeks. So it sits within your org, users access it, another user might come across and download it within a week, nothing happens. And then the third user might come and download it, take a look at that attachment or that URL on day 15, for argument's sake. And that's when it will actually activate and cause an issue. So this is why we offer something. So in addition to the upload scanning and what Anthony just described there in terms of content coming in, whether it's communities, web to case, email to case, we also provide settings so that you could, in theory, rescan everything every single time it's re-downloaded again in your organization, or you can put a setting and say, if something's not been touched for a week, scan it again after a week, just to double check that we did pick it up in the first place or not. So yes, we do both internal download scanning and naturally the upload scanning at the same time, which is quite unique.
Thanks for elaborating, Alex. One final question came in. So it says, how do I, as an admin, know when a malicious threat is detected?
Yes, good point. I mean, Anthony, you were just talking about the reporting and how that works. So do you want to just elaborate on that?
Yes, so you will know instantaneously because when somebody tries to upload a malicious content, we scan it straight away. So as hopefully you picked up in the demonstration, you simply will not be able to upload it, and it will be visually visible to the person trying to run the upload. And then from an admin perspective, I showed you the summary, the analytics. We do keep a record of every event generated. So on every scanned event, it will be visible within the analytics page as well.
And if I can also add to that, and just if we really boil it down to a simple example, let's just imagine a setting or a scenario where a staff member within your organization, whether he or she sits within the contact center or a service team or a specific department, if they're engaging an external partner or customer, and if some content is coming in that's blocked and removed, and there's no notification or messaging to your staff member, that just causes confusions, and that individual could lose tens of hours trying to work out if the partner sent it, did not send it. The partner could get frustrated. So if we think of the human side, it causes confusion, and this is where our deep integration with Salesforce and how we first developed this for ourselves, and we made it and developed it to be good enough for us to be happy before we took it to market. It was a key thing, is that from a usability perspective, we want to make sure this runs in the background and does not cause confusion. So just to add to that as well.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, Anthony. I don't have any more questions in the chat. So final chance for you attendees to unmute and ask any questions that you might have and that we have not given an answer to so far. Anybody? No. That's also cool enough. So thank you very much, both you, Anthony, and you, Alex, for doing this webinar today with the introduction and the demo. Please don't hesitate to contact me or anyone in my team going forward if you have any questions about the F-Secure Cloud Protection for Salesforce solution. I will look forward to take the discussions further with you. And on that note, I just want to say have a pleasant day and hopefully speak to all of you again at some point. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. Take care.